And I guess now we're actually live. Why, hello everybody. We are back. It's the Friday Night Forum where we talk about real estate for everyone out there who's interested in listening. And Arlene, the Realtor, joining me today.
We are. See, we're streaming like everywhere. We have Facebook. What is that? Twitch? Is that what that is?
I got a Twitch.
What is that? There's Twitch. I see your face on YouTube, Facebook. Mine's on Facebook twice. Yours is Facebook. Oh man, we're all over the place. Sweet.
All right. Well, we are nice and happy to be back and in our routine here. So I know we had a couple of things that we want to talk about today, which I don't even know if you can see this. Can you see the logo?
No.
Hold on here.
I cannot.
I don't even know if you even know what this is. Actually, of course, I've got so much ice in the glass that you can't see.
No.
And of course, now it's completely disappointing, but it's an Acuna real estate glass.
How do I get one?
These are no longer in production. They're actually like collector's items at this point. We used to give away glasses as part of our closing. Of course, you can't see it right now, but there's our logos on there and everything. It's a nice glass.
It's like the maracas.
Yes, like the maracas, which I have on my shelf too. Again, it's like our historical items from the office. But I was doing a clean out on our third floor apartment that we have, and this was like in the closet. So me and April used to live there years and years ago, and so we had put some like in a crawl space, not realizing that they were still there. So I found a little stash.
Nice.
So I was excited about that. Yeah.
We need to get those back in production. Yes, Maria, time to order more. Put that up there. Yes.
Hold on here. Yeah, time to order more. All right. So I know last time, was it the last time we were on here we talked about agency disclosure, or yes. Or was that the time before that? Was that the last time? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So kind of along that same theme, talking about our documents that people should be familiar with when you're buying, and agents, anyone that's watching this, you guys should all be familiar with this as well.
You should be, however.
Yes.
However, it seems like some are not.
Yes, not everyone is always familiar with what they're supposed to be doing when it comes to the lead. But I'm gonna go ahead and let me go ahead and grab this, and then we can actually show it. And so right now I'm just creating a fake loop on my dot loop here. I'm not trying to bring up my host screen so everyone doesn't see all my deals I got going on. That was kind of like what you did on the meeting the other day. You're like, I don't want you to see the.
I don't want to see what's going on right now.
All right, let me. Here it is. All right, so let me go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. That way you guys can take a peek at what we're talking about. Here we go. All right, so this is the Childhood Lead Poisoning Prevention Program Property Transferred Lead Paint Notification.
An attorney came up with that.
Yeah, attorney came up with that. Attorney definitely came up with this. So this is our lead disclosure, put simply. So this is the document that we use in order to disclose to buyers or potential buyers whether or not there is a presence of lead in the property. And in Massachusetts, this is one of the only things that the seller's like required to disclose when it comes to selling a property. Like there's no other required disclosures in terms of the paperwork, right? In terms of what Massachusetts says you have to put in writing. But this lead disclosure is, and part of that reason is just, we're in a state with old houses, right? And as you know, anything built before 1978 has a possibility of lead-based paint hazards. And therefore, you have to have the opportunity to do that inspection. So in all reality, this this is like a whole bunch of paperwork. It's 11 pages long. The first 10 pages, even though there's a lot of good information in here, this is really not the stuff that most people are remembering when they think of the lead disclosure. It's actually the last page on this. So again, it talks about lead paint, history of lead paint, if there's financing available, what's interim control, what's de-leading, some definitions and stuff like that. But if we get all the way down, see how long this thing is? And this is the actual disclosure. Okay. So let me make it smaller so that some of you can see this a little bit better. So again, this is a setup so that a seller of a house can disclose to a potential buyer whether or not they have any known lead-based paint hazards in the property. So the seller is going to go ahead and complete this top portion, right? The buyer will go ahead and complete this middle portion, as well as deciding whether or not they're going to do a lead inspection. And the agents need to complete this. All right. So as a buyer, I guess I can't stress enough that how important it is to know what is going on with lead in a property when you go into purchase. So you never want to really make an offer on a house unless you have some sort of idea what's going on. And the MLS will have some sort of disclosure, unknown, known, or that there's some sort of compliance letter. But you really need to make sure you're seeing this disclosure, this lead disclosure document. All right. Now, in Massachusetts, the requirement is that the buyer needs to have this completed before they're bound, before they're under contract on the property. Yeah. And it's really a good practice, and it's in everyone's best interest for the buyer to really see this as early as possible before they even make an offer on the property, so that they can make an educated decision when they're actually making that offer. And as part of making the disclosure, the seller's going to tell you whether or not they know about any lead-based paint hazards, or if they don't know about any lead-based paint hazards. Now, if a seller has done an inspection on a property, they're going to know what's going on, right? And so if there's been a lead inspection, they should have an idea of whether or not there is lead or no lead, or if they're in compliance, whatever the case may be. But if the seller's never done a lead inspection or never had it tested, then legally they have no knowledge, right? You can't just assume something has lead or just say that there is lead here or there isn't lead here. Unless you've actually done an inspection, you've got no knowledge. So you want to make sure, again, that the seller's completed this top portion here. And then in addition, that they've completed the rest of it. And so that's saying if they actually have any paperwork regarding lead paint, we want to make sure we see that paperwork, because we want to know exactly what's going on there. And part of the reason why it's important to see this paperwork is so that you can read what it actually says. One of the things that is a little bit of confusion with some people is that they think that the house has to be lead free in order for it to be within compliance, which is not the case. You can have lead paint or lead-based paint hazards in the house, and you can still be within compliance as long as they're satisfied in a certain way. So, so you could have a situation where a landlord or a seller is selling a property that they had inspected and it's within compliance and everything looks great. But if that wasn't a full de-letting and it was just more of an interim control, there's always a possibility that the property could fall out of compliance, right? So let's just say, for example, there's a wall that is intact. It's not a surface that a child can bite on or anything like that. That nowadays that's in compliance, right? But let's say that starts to chip or it gets damaged in some way and the wall starts coming apart. Well, now it's no longer in compliance, right? And so as the potential buyer of the property, you need to make sure you're understanding what they did or what happened in order to get them the letters that they actually got. All right. So again, that's important. And then, as you're completing this, the buyer, you're going to get the opportunity to do a lead inspection. All right. Now, Arlene, how do you normally bring that up to your buyers on the lead?
To get the inspections. I mean, this is one of the first things I show a buyer when I have the initial meeting. I have that whole packet of stuff. So they already have the information, and I'll tell them this is the document you're going to come across when you put in an offer. Most agents I'm finding are putting it in the MLS. So, and they want it with the offer. So it's done immediately. So my buyers know up front that this is something they're going to sign. And and they'll have the opportunity to get the inspection. However, if they know they're not going to get an inspection, they don't have kids or whatever, I'll have them waive it, because that tells the seller that they don't have to worry about a lead inspection. And if lead pops, they don't have to disclose it. I mean, if they don't have the inspection, there's nothing to disclose. But if they have the inspection, that could potentially, cause an issue. So it really depends on the situation of the buyer. But when we're walking through a house, and we walk through a house, we're like, man, this place has lead. Like, it's obvious it has lead in here. We're not really allowed to. I mean, we say we're not inspectors, but we can tell because we've seen it enough times.
At that point, basically, if I see something that I'm just like, hey, this has got all the original windows, and it's like a whole bunch of alligator skinning on certain areas, I'm just like, I can't guarantee this is lead, but I'm thinking there's a good chance it could be there. We need to get this tested.
Yeah. Especially if they have little kids. So that's when it's really important. Like, I would highly recommend you get it tested. Or if they're just like, yeah, we know it's full of lead and they'll take care of it in the future or whatever. Like, I mean, every situation is different. So usually my buyers though up front are aware of this and already have their mind made up basically when they're about to put an offer in.
Yeah, no, that's true. It as you said, it is important to a seller. It is the requirement that you have to have this completed prior to being bound. And it's in the seller's interest to see that when they're entertaining offers, especially if they're in a multiple offer situation. And that's been so much more important over the last 2 years as we've gotten into this, crazy seller's market. Whereas in years past, it wasn't necessarily as concerning because we just assumed buyers were just going to go ahead and do it. Right. Whereas now where the way the competition is, there are some buyers who just like, waiving a home inspection, which I would not recommend you do. But if a buyer was to choose to waive a lead inspection, in a seller's eyes, they might potentially see it as one less, step that they have to go through with that particular buyer. And if you have two buyers that are offering the exact same thing, one of them is doing a lead inspection and the other one's not, the seller's probably going to be inclined to take the offer that has that one less step.
That could be a deciding factor. You never know. And if the buyer's not, if they know they're not going to do it, just click waive it. You said.
So typically, what I recommend, if I have a buyer who's unsure what they want to do, I always tell them to take the opportunity to do it. You never want to waive it. Because and even when I have people who are like, I'm thinking I'm going to waive it, I'm like, do you really want to do that? Because you can't call me tomorrow and say, hey, I changed my mind on that. Right. Because I've already waived it. But at least if you take the opportunity to do it and then you don't decide not to do it, well, that's fine.
Yep.
But at least now you have the opportunity, and so it's like, do I really want this opportunity or not? And the other thing that this is really important for, and I mean, it's just as important for, people who are occupying a property for single families, but multifamilies.
Yep.
For multifamily property, if you are going to be a landlord, you cannot rent the unit to a family with a child under the age of 6. It's illegal to do that. And you can also not deny renting them.
You can't deny them either.
You can't deny renting them because they have a child under the age of 6 and you don't have a lead certificate. So it's kind of a catch-22. You can't legally rent it to them, but you also can't deny them because they have a child, and that's discrimination at that point. So, as a landlord or as anybody who's going to be purchasing a multifamily house, I would definitely tell you need to make sure you're doing a lead inspection. You need to investigate what is going on there, especially if there's already someone living in the property that may fall within these rules that say you need to make sure you have a lead certificate. One of the things that you have to understand is when you're purchasing the property, you're also purchasing all the problems along with that property. And so just because you close on it, if next week, there's a child living in that unit and they test positive for lead, guess what? They don't go after the previous owner. They go after you, the current owner, the new owner of the property. And if you haven't done your lead inspection or determined you need to do a lot to get your lead compliance, you could be in a really bad situation financially.
We just went sideways with this topic. Your dad, that's another topic, is owning multifamily, being a landlord.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, being a landlord, that's a whole nother thing. But I'm just talking specifically to the lead topic.
Yeah.
Right. And so, that's why it's important. And even if you don't have a kid, right, even if you're never going to have to worry yourself for any type of lead compliance, it's still better to know what's going on there than not, because if you go to sell that property down the road a few years ago, those buyers may be interested about finding that out. And so sometimes you're better off knowing the bad stuff, even though you may not want to, just so that you can make the decision in the beginning. Here we go here. Lenders also required lead certificate required to lead within 6 months if the house was built before 1978.
Isn't that if there's known lead, like if there was a test done and it tests positive, but if there's no test done, they can't force you to take the test. They can't force it.
I think that's may be how it is. And I don't think it's with all properties. I think it depends on the type of loan that you're doing. But yeah, the lenders could have any type of requirements. I mean, this is kind of it goes on another topic in terms of, like home inspections versus an appraisal. What is the lender looking for in terms of condition, right? So the lenders aren't explicitly asking for inspections reports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you send the inspection report to the lender and there's a whole bunch of issues on that, the lender could say, hey, I want this stuff to be done.
Man.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting situation because they don't ask for the information. They're not proactively looking to find out stuff. They do send their own eyes essentially out there because of the appraisal. To find out something.
That's a good one. So that's one question I get a lot is, what if it doesn't pass inspection? And I have to get into, well, the inspection isn't pass or fail. It's what you're willing to tolerate for the inspection. The appraisal is pass or fail. The appraisal is where we get the list of things that need to be done. And so a lot of people, especially since I work with mostly first-time home buyers, they really don't understand that the inspection is for them and for them to know what's going on in the property. And I really make it a point to say, don't send the inspection report to the lender. I had that happen once when I first started, and they sent the full report thinking that the lender I think the lender even asked for it, and they sent it. I was like, no, it was too late. And they picked out a few things. Thankfully, it wasn't much, but yeah,
they required it.
Yeah, once they have the information, there's no taking it back.
Oh yeah, of course, and that's with anything. Sending the report.
Man.
So what's interesting is the whole idea of who owns that report, or is the buyer required to share it with somebody else if they ask them for it? But it's like insurance now. I've seen with home insurance a couple different scenarios where recently I've seen some where the home insurance company asks for a copy of the inspection report as part of the quote.
We talked about that a while ago.
Yeah. And so, it's weird because, because it's like, well, what are they? Because especially if the buyer is going to be taking care of some stuff immediately, and they're going to price this estimate based on whatever they're seeing in the inspection report. It may not necessarily be the end condition, I guess is the best way to put it. And then the other thing is sometimes someone seeing an inspection report, something could seem worse than it really is.
Oh, yeah.
And especially, and it's odd to have a third party say, you got to do this now, but yet the buyer doesn't have anything in the contract to say that they have a right to renegotiate at that point. And so to me, what I could potentially see a situation where, okay, so if let's say I'm going to get my insurance and now all of a sudden the insurance company is saying you got to do these repairs. Now I can't get insurance. if I don't have an ability to back out of the deal based on not being able to get that insurance as part of that, and I can get insurance through another company that's not asking for the inspection report, I have to switch companies essentially.
Yeah.
Especially if I can't get can't get the insurance through the company that's asking for the report at that point. So it could limit you in terms of, I guess, who you'd be using at that point if everyone's asking for that. Now,
So there's,
yep.
I was gonna say, I used to work in insurance.
For photos. No luck with insurance.
No, I used to work. I used to work with insurance. I used to do home and auto insurance when I first started in insurance, and then I went into health and life after. But so insurance is interesting because I've had this discussion with like inspectors, because especially like knob and tube, that's a big thing for insurance companies, and it can like triple your premium if they cover it at all. And I've had somebody say, well, if they don't know about it, then you know, they're not going to charge you for it. Or are they also go to the next level is, if they don't ask you about it, then you don't need to tell them about it. That is not true. So if you have knob and tube wire, and man, I had an inspector say this to somebody once. If they don't ask you about knob and tube, if the insurance company missed the question or it's not on the application or whatever, and something happens to the house because of knob and tube, you are not insured. You are not insured for knob and tube. They need to know this information, whether or not they forgot to ask you or you didn't tell them. Yeah. You're screwed if that happens. So so if they got the report and they're telling you they need things done in order for them to cover you, if they didn't get that report and something were to happen because of some of those items that were on the report, you are not insured. You are not. Insurance companies live by trying to not pay out, and they will find every single, if you look at the insurance policies, how freaking detailed they are, and you're not aware that, you know, having a desk near a front door like I do now, I have this little, if that could be in the insurance policy that this can't be here because of safety reasons, if something happens, and then you're screwed out of the insurance.
Now they don't want to cover on anything. Yeah.
And they won't. They will win, because they will show line 6 of paragraph 359, line A, word 2 says this happened, and they will win. They won't pay out. So, you know, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. So don't start lying about to get good insurance, right? And
not
don't
even lying, but omitting information.
Don't omit information because you're thinking, oh, they're going to charge me more. Yeah, no, it's true, because you have to use common sense, and they're only going to cover you based on an assumption of certain items. And if the policy doesn't explicitly state, like you said, that you've got the knob and tube or whatnot, you're probably not going to be covered if it's related specifically to that.
Seriously, if you're bored one day, take your policy out and read it, and you're going to be like, holy crap, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm, you know, and then if this breaks and then messes up the house, I'm not covered. You're going to be like, holy crap. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing with like sometimes with permitted work.
Is that legal for the insurance company to demand the report?
Yeah, I think at that point because they are asking for this as part of the quote, so they're not forcing you to give it to them. They're just saying, if you want to work with us, you got to give us a copy.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if you don't want to give us the report, you have every right to not give us the report and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm thinking that their thinking is, right? You know, so, you know, I did think it was pretty interesting. There's another company recently where they had the buyer take photos. It was like an app, and the app had a list of all the photos, like front side, left side of the house, right side of the house, bathroom 1, bathroom 2, and like they had to take a bunch of pictures, and they sent all that in, and that's what they got their quote on.
I mean, I can see why they'd want all that, because they're telling you, for this amount of money, if something happens to your house, we will cover it. We will fix it. We will do that. So yeah, just like the lender, they want to make sure they're giving you all this money. They want to make sure that every document is in order. It's frustrating, but they want to make sure they have everything. And I get it. I understand both sides of that.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So lenders. So since you mentioned
nice
the lender,
nice segue into the lenders.
I know you wanted to talk about knowing who you work with. Which
Yeah,
I know we've talked about that before though, but might as well bring it up again.
We have, and the reason I bring it up is because I've gotten the past week, I've gotten pre-approvals from national lenders. I don't think I should say who. If you look on my Facebook, you'll know who I'm talking about. But it's I got these lenders, and I haven't had a good experience with them, but I've only done it maybe once or twice. And so I'm getting these pre-approvals, and I'm wondering what other agents' experiences are. And I made a post on it, and you could see very quickly within 2 hours, I got a bunch of comments from agents, from other realtors on this company. I want to say this company. And it really, it was they either hated them or they were okay, but mostly stay away. I was told mostly to stay away. But part of the reason why a lot of them said, Maria saw that, part of the reason a lot of them were didn't like it is because they were hard to contact. And that was the issue that I had, was every time I called, I got somebody new, and it was like starting all over again. And then if I could even get a call back, and then they're really proactive in the beginning. They give you the pre-approval. They're picking up the phone. They're doing all this. And then all of a sudden they're in the middle of the process and they get an accepted offer and they start the process. They're gone. It's like, where do they go?
Another department takes over.
Yeah. They hook you. And then it's like, I don't know. And then either deals die or they just stumble along, and they're pulling so much volume that I don't think they really care if they lose a deal here and there, whatever. They're just move on to the next one.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that brings the point is working with local people.
Yes.
Having the ability to walk into an office and know where your stuff is being handled. And if there's an issue, that you can actually go somewhere to knock on the door if you really had to.
Yeah.
As opposed to where's the guy where's the guy Steve I spoke with last week? He's not here no more.
Steve was fired.
There's someone else now on the file.
I make the joke all the time to my buyers. I was like, you want local, because if something happens and they don't pick up the phone for me, I am showing up at somebody's office. Yeah. I will be there. It hasn't happened yet. I haven't had to, because the people I work with will pick up the phone for me. But I am very adamant about, if you need something, if they have a local office, you could go show up and be like, why aren't you picking up the phone or answering my emails? And you can't do that nationally. I don't think they even have offices. They're just all working from home.
And then the other thing is, in that situation, you could have 3 different people working on your file that are in 3 different states.
Yep.
You could have someone in Arizona, in Rhode Island, somebody else in Texas, and they're all working on the file, different times.
Yep.
Different availabilities.
And also, it's it really depends on how complicated your situation is. If you have one job, no debt, and nothing major at all, anybody could close that. It's when you get more complicated, you have multiple jobs, or you own a home currently, or you work part-time, there's all these different factors that could really complicate your case. And you need somebody local, not only because they're local, but I think my experience is the local people that I work with care more, because they're working in the community. They're working with somebody in their community.
Oh yeah.
And they want to do right by them, because in the end, you're messing with people's lives. So these national companies, if they don't care about you, you're just another number to them, They can just toss you over, and you wasted time, you wasted money, and there's really nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. But like I said, it's volume at that point.
It's volume, yeah.
Volume, yeah. So, all right. So, anything else you got on that?
No. I want a market update. Actually, do we have one of those?
We can do a market update. Yeah, let's
market update.
Actually, just gonna pull the MLS right now. We'll do a quick market update.
Because I've been out there, and I mean, I'm still seeing that it's multiple offer situations and all that, but I'm also seeing it slow down a little bit. I'm also seeing houses not coming on as fast. It's definitely, to me, slowed down on both ends, but still pretty hot.
It's still pretty hot. It's just not napalm blazing anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Buyers that are waiting, this is the time to get back out there. Absolutely. I actually have some buyers that are, they're just starting up again. They got burned a few times early spring and summer, and they just got burnt out. And then now they probably see what I see is, it's still hot, but it's, at least now they have a chance.
Yeah. So, all right, let me see what we got here.
What do you got there?
PDF this. And actually, let's do. So
this is what our MLS looks like when we do pull information.
Oh! I'm pulling the wrong town. That's my problem. All right, so where did my first one go? Oh, here it is. Okay. All right, so while that one's downloading, we can take a peek here. All right, so this is Hampden County, 5-year review. And so we've been taking a peek at this, every so often, and then we look at the Springfield numbers, which I've got downloading right here. All right, so right now, as of October 8th at 8:03 p.m., in Hampden County, we have 391 properties available on the market. So as we go back and we look at last year, which we know last year was crazy as well, we actually have less homes available right now than we did the same time last year. And we go back into 2019, we have less than half the homes that we had available at that time. And going back 18, 17, same thing. All right, so we have a still drastic shortage of inventory. The other indicator we use here is the approximate months of supply, as we've all talked about before.
As the last time we saw 1 month?
Yeah, we're over a month. Yeah, I know. It's amazing. I know, it feels so crazy. Things are so slow now. It only takes 3 days to sell a house.
Oh, man.
So right now, assuming no new houses come on the market today, all the houses in Hampden County will get sold in about a month. All right.
What was the lowest we saw? Was it like 0.37? It was like
in Springfield. It was pretty low. Springfield, we're actually
Woo!
over.
Look at that. Yes.
Well, we were getting pretty critical for a while there. Year-to-date listings.
Don't get me wrong.
Yes, still critical. Year-to-date listings, we're actually not that far off versus the year-to-date listings from last year. But as you can see, we definitely still have less inventory because we're selling more homes. Let me see here. Closed units. There we go. So we've actually in Hampden County sold 3,172 versus last year was only just over 3,000. So we have sold more homes, and we're not far off from years past. All right. And so as you can see, 2017, we sold more homes. We're about on with 2018. Part of this reason that this number is not higher is because this number, the listing units, we just aren't getting versus what we've had in years past. Again, under 4,000 properties this year, same time last year, under 4,000. In years past, we would have had at least 500 more houses that come on the market in just Hampden County alone. So again, showing you the inventory is down, demand is still up. So we are still in a seller's market. Looking at our average sale price right now in Hampden County is up to $294,000. I mean, that's 40,000 more than what it was a year ago. And if we're looking at our percent of sale price versus the list price, right now people are pretty much getting over 100%. On their property right now. That's assuming you priced it right. And the reason it's over 100% is because a lot of houses that are priced right are selling for, 10, 20, 30,000, even more than their asking price. So there are some properties that do sell under their asking price. But when you average everything out together, again, typical sellers getting over 100%. And let's pop over to Springfield. All right. Now, I always like using Springfield, just because we do a lot of business in Springfield, and Springfield is also the most number of sales in Western Massachusetts. This is amazing to me that we actually have 120 houses on the market. All right. Now, last year, we were talking about how ridiculously crazy that was that we had 120 houses on the market. And this year, I'm like, oh my God, it's so wonderful that we actually have 120 houses on the market. Like, oh my goodness, that's a lot.
And a month of inventory.
Yeah, and just a month of inventory. So at the beginning of this year, we were down for single families available in Springfield. We were down to the 50s at one point. I think we even hit 49. And for a couple of months, we were in the 50s and 60s. So we were just kind of slugging around.
I don't know what happened last year. I think I blocked it out.
Yeah. So. But in the last 2 months, this number has significantly increased. All right. So we've also seen that we've got more listings have come on the market this year versus last year, just a handful more. We still haven't quite reached what we saw in years past. So again, we haven't quite recovered from what we went through. But you can also see, hold on here, units sold 970. So we're above last year. We're kind of on par with the years past, except for 2019. We're a little bit more in terms of sales. But again, we're still selling houses in Springfield, just not enough houses, the number of buyers that are actually out there. 1.6 was the month supply. So again, if nothing else comes on the market in Springfield, everything theoretically would be sold in about 1 month. No new houses would be available. The average sale price in Springfield is right now $236,000, which is crazy when you compare that to 2017. That's almost $100,000, folks.
Wow.
Almost $100,000 increase in value for the average price in Springfield over those since 2017. So it just shows you or emphasizes how strong of a seller's market it is. And as we know, just because we are seeing an increase now in some of the inventory, it's still not getting close to a buyer's market yet. No,
not even close.
We're at about a month supply. We need to be at 4 months at least to then be in an even market. I would love a situation where we started getting a little bit back to that. Things would be level, and that would also tell us that we would have a decent amount of inventory available for the number of buyers out there. But
I think it's important to say as well with that is that even if it starts to go towards that buyer's market, that doesn't mean that house prices are going to crash. Everyone's assuming that a crash is going to all of a sudden, like the housing market is just going to bottom out and we're going to get another, 2008, market crash. I think what's going to happen is like the prices are up here, but they're going to stay up here. We talked about this. They might start creeping down a little bit, but they're not going to just bottom out. And then, the people that paid $300,000 for the house, all of a sudden 2 years from now, it's not going to be $200,000. It's going to be, maybe a drop a little bit, but nothing significant. I don't think it's going to.
Yeah, I can't imagine at this point. Again, because it's supply and demand. And then the other thing is, I think what we experienced is that the whole market actually shifted. Yeah. Because we've talked about this before, was that any typical market goes up and down, right? It goes up and down. Yeah. You have your highs and your lows, but you kind of have a window that it's kind of in that window, right? So you've got your high and your low, moves up and down in that window, right? But as history shows us, that window that it moves, that has moved up, and then that moves up, and then that moves up. That's why you could buy a house in the 1940s for like 20 grand or even less. All right. No one, even when the markets crashed before, they've always recovered and then risen even beyond that. It's never then crashed again to then drop below what it was 40 years ago. You know, it's not like we're dropping back or we never see that situation. And that's because we've got just things like inflation. You know, the economy just changes, the value of the dollar and all that stuff. So I think in general, what we really have been seeing is that, yeah, the prices have gone up, but I think the whole market has shifted in terms of what you can get for your money. And that if the prices do come down, you know, they'll fluctuate, but they're now going to fluctuate within a higher range, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we still have a massive shortage of inventory nationwide.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Massive shortage of inventory.
And so the prices aren't, I see them still rising a little bit because of that. And we're not going to catch up for a long time. So unless something dramatic happens, we find a really cheap way to start building, which honestly, that could, if there was some new technology that came out and it massively cut costs and we were able to build faster, then you might see house prices start dropping more because there's more inventory at lesser costs.
Be way more supply then.
It would be way more supply. But right now, even if like all the buyers stop buying right now, or a lot of the buyers stop buying, or the interest rates go up, wiping out some people in the market, there's still such a massive shortage. And I think the last from COVID and to now, I think what happened was now we're really seeing that shortage. The shortage always existed. It's existed for a long time.
Wow.
But but since this happened and people really needed to move and the interest rates bottoming out and all this, like it really just made the problem like it's in our face now, and we have to figure out a way to get more inventory, or else prices are just going to keep going up. We have more and more people every day. So that doesn't mean prices are just going to keep going up until we figure something out.
Yeah, we have millions of families coming into the market within the next couple of years. Millions of families being created.
And we're 5 million houses behind in inventory.
Yeah. It's we're millions behind
at
already.
Least. So,
So like you said, I think and that's it, when we're talking about disruptors like technology and stuff, we don't know. I mean, something could come along that completely disrupts everything else. But bar some major event, you know, real estate is really basic when it's supply and demand, right? So you have, you know, you've got a ton of people that are looking for access to housing, and we don't have enough housing for them to access. So of course, people are going to pay a premium at that point. All right. So what else? What else you got?
What else do I got? What do you have? Anything?
We got
we got a market update.
I wanted to talk about.
I mean, this might not be a topic for today, but you were talking about landlord stuff. I have a multifamily under contract, and we were going through the house for the inspection, and it's a first-time landlord or first-time future landlord, and all this stuff, and as we're going through, there's things that we're seeing that, you know, you might want to take care of this right away because of XYZ reason. And the person was like, that's really an issue. And I'm like Massachusetts is a very tenant heavy state. Like the tenants win everything. If a light bulb is out and I mean, they could cause so many issues. And and we're talking about the lead paint and just things like that. You have no idea. That's why we were highly recommending they take the landlord class at Wayfinders, because there are things you don't even know. And one of the things as a funny thing, it's not really funny, but one of my first sales, they had somebody like squatting in the house. But the owner knew that they were staying there. They were only supposed to be there a couple weeks to fix up some things, and they were gone. But what ended up happening was what ended up happening was the guy that was fixing up ended up getting a girlfriend, and the girlfriend ended up squatting at the house during this time frame. It was like a very short time frame, and the house sold, and the owner, the previous seller, actually took the mattress. That's all it was. It was like a mattress and a little TV. Put it outside because it was over with, and they were able to take the previous owner, to court, saying they were wrongfully evicted from the property. Mind you, they weren't paying for any utilities, any rent, anything. They actually won. And the previous owner they actually took my buyers to court too, but the buyers were had nothing to do with it. So they were like, oh, but it inconvenienced them because they had to show up to court. And so the owner had to pay them out and had to pay for them to stay at a hotel for a while. And these are people that weren't even really supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So it's like that opened up my eyes to the level of craziness it is with tenant laws in Massachusetts.
Yeah, and then it's not just and the thing, and this was kind of a little bit of a conversation that we had the other day with a broker meeting, was essentially when the law comes in, right? The judge is making that decision or whatever. They don't do this every day. Right. So they're not into real estate every day in terms of like knowing how deals work and like, who went in, who's supposed to be there, who's not supposed to be there. They're just looking at some basic facts. And so if someone can prove those very basic things, then everything else don't matter. Yep. Everything else doesn't matter. And you could have every good intention. They could have made every single promise or whatever it is. And as long as certain criteria is met, well, then that's it. You lost.
No, seriously, like I make this joke, but it's totally serious. Is if you have like a family member stay at your house, they're just chilling, like they needed a place to stay for a few weeks, they're a tenant. And
after a certain while they are,
you can kick them out even if they're not paying anything. They're not putting money towards food, rent, utilities, nothing. They are a tenant. And let's say they have a room, you give them a guest room, you're screwed. Like, do you kick them out?
You're screwed.
You're screwed. If you kick them out and they know tenant laws.
Talk to a landlord. I talked to an attorney I met. Talk to an attorney.
Yeah, it's like, oh man. So now I'm thinking, like, if anybody wants to stay over, I'd be like, nah, no, I don't want
you need an agreement saying that you're leaving.
Yeah, right. Sign an agreement. Get it reviewed by an attorney. And it's serious because people do that.
Yeah, my mom had a situation where somebody let a friend stay at the house, and then the friend refused to leave. Yeah, and now they're going to court over it.
They're going to court, and and the thing is, like, they'll eventually evict her, but they wasted all that time, money, the attorney fees, and
then never mind, especially in that situation, a roommate situation where you just have to share the space with the person too while this is all going on. Yeah.
I would find a place myself. I'd be like, all right, I know this is my house, but I gotta go. I'll find my own place.
There you go.
That's so weird.
All right. What else we got? Anything else? Sounds familiar.
No, we've had a crazy few weeks. Like, we weren't as prepared for this one as we have. I
was showing houses not like an hour ago. All right. I was down the street. We got a 3-family. I had to rush out of there. And I was like, I gotta get home. I was
showing a 6. I did the same thing. I was like, I still have an offer to put in. I gotta go home. I gotta do some stuff.
Yeah, well, we did it. We got on. We made our appearance. So I'm happy. Anybody, if I have any other questions, if not, I think we can go ahead and wrap it up for today.
We'll be more prepared next time.
Yeah, Yeah. I think we got a couple other topics that I had a couple of other things that I thought about, but they're a little longer stuff, so we'll probably get into that next time. So as always, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and reach out to us. You know how to get a hold of me at HeSellsHouses. You got at Arlene the Realtor. Call, text, email. And we'll probably see you here in roughly 2 weeks.
Whenever we show up.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
All right.
Bye.